feeling this morning? Thought I'd just randomly pop a question to you.
I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. That's how I'm feeling this morning, Jenna. And we'll just leave that as it is. Cautiously optimistic.
I love it.
And Jenna, let me tell you, I'm feeling even better because of Brandon Marshall's shirt. That is in our morning where we are a little bleary-eyed. That shirt is waking you up. I love it.
Perfect.
Hey, Nick, did I go too far?
Well, now that we are all awake, no, there's no such thing on this show, Brandon. Let's talk some sports. It's what we do. It's what we will do for the next couple hours. As the Tampa Bay Buccaneers prepare for their big rematch with the Saints on Sunday, they will do so with some added weaponry. Antonio Brown cleared to practice with the team yesterday, and we all know how happy that makes one Tom Brady. In fact, Brady's so eager to get on the same page with his new wide receiver, he has him living with him. AB moved into TB's house, and OMG, that right there, my friends, is a reality show. Here's Tom on his new tenant.
Well, Antonio's a good friend of mine, and again, we've gotten to know each other pretty well over the years. So he's just getting settled, and I know he's looking for places, but it's just nice to be able to have him around. And, you know, we're getting to work, and he likes to be integrated into what we're doing, and big transition for him moving across the state and really not knowing anyone. So, you know, again, just trying to be a great teammate and help someone out, you know, is a friend of mine.
Okay, Brandon, I'm sorry, but I need an explanation. What is the deal with Antonio? I mean, they did this I think they did this in New England as well. Why do they have to live together? They're going to be a big part of each other's lives. Explain this to me.
Well, I mean, Tom said it. He's trying to be a great teammate, Jenna. And two things can happen. When you're trying to build chemistry on the field, it expedites that process. And then off the field, being a good mentor, right? Like sometimes those are where the relationships are built. When I start seeing my teammates and also coaches off the field, seeing them around their wives, their children, that's when I was like, oh, they're human. Right? Because sometimes when we walk into that building, it's all about being a superhero. You know, you can't show any weakness. You can't show that you're hurt. You can't have any letdown moments. But when you're outside of the facility, now you're seeing people smile for the very first time. Like Coach Mangini on this show, he might be one of those guys that you look at inside the building like, does this guy have a heart? Does he even smile? Is he all about ball? And then you see him around his wife and kids, and you're like, he smiles. This is amazing. So when you're able to see Coach Mangini as a human, then that's when you're able to say, you know what, Coach, I understand what you're trying to accomplish. You know, I'm gonna listen to you, and I'm gonna actually move in the direction you want me to move. So I really like this move because it really sets up the team for success. And Antonio Brown needs it, to be quite frank.
Yeah, so dig into that, Brandon. Like, the most optimistic view of this is that Tom Brady is going above and beyond to put Antonio Brown on the right track if he's not on the right track, and keep him on the right track, and sort of like reduce any outside influence by literally putting him in the walls of his house. So do you think this is all about football, or actually, no, do this. Tell me what percentage of this do you think is about football, and what percentage of you think of this is like outside the lines?
20% football, Wilds. I mean, I did this, and I know Tom Brady's being intentional here. I moved in with Geno Smith. I was going into the later years of my career. I wanted to win. I wanted to be successful. I remember going to the New York Jets and say, the first thing that I'm going to do is find a room in Geno Smith's house, because now I'm able to be intentional every single day. Walk in and say, okay, or what are we doing today? Or do you want to go over any plays? Do you want to watch film today? What books are we reading on leadership? So I was able to build that rapport. And when you do that, it actually gives you the opportunity to hold each other accountable. Because when it gets rough and you just know me as the superhero, then it's going to be two superheroes battling. But when you know me as a human, as a man, then I'm able to say Antonio Brown, Geno Smith, like I don't understand what you're doing. Jay Cutler was able to look at me and say, Brandon, what the are you doing, right? So I love this situation for Antonio Brown because 80% is about his mental and who he is as a man.
All right, listen, folks. I think we do a really good job, and it is an intentional job on this show, not to pat ourselves on the back, of at all times when possible, keeping the discussions about the actual games on the actual field or court, as it were, because that's typically what you're here for. In this instance, though, we are being negligent if we don't at least acknowledge and discuss why this is so odd and why, at least for me, it's so shocking. Since Antonio Brown last lived with Tom Brady, he has been credibly accused by 2 different women of sexual misconduct or assault. And it is beyond shocking to me that Tom Brady, who has a pretty sterling reputation, even though I poke fun at him at his older age, nobody takes shots at Tom Brady, the guy, the husband, the father, the man, any of those things, that he continues to attach himself to someone that he doesn't have some long-standing relationship with. He didn't win championships with. He had one good half of football with. And Wilds, you've been a Tom Brady fan for basically the entirety of your adult life. Does it not strike you as more than curious that he seems to care less about Antonio Brown's very deserved reputation, not only from those allegations, but from the countless videos or texts or tweets or Instagrams that we've seen, that he's not only vouching for this guy to join the team, but literally saying, come live with me? Like, Wilds, for me, that is the part of this I can't figure out.
No, I know, but I understand that. And Brandon, it makes me think, even when we listen to Tom Brady's quote, that their relationship is far deeper than just the on-field Patriots highlights of one game against the Dolphins. It must be. I mean, there was reports that Tom Brady hooked him up with Tony Robbins to try to get his life. So it feels like there's some sort of underreported mentorship happening that is now just kind of coming to light. But I don't know if we know the roots of this relationship as deep as obviously Tom Brady and Antonio Brown. Maybe you can shed some light on it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Nick, you're 100% right, man. Like, when you look at guys off the field, you know, you have a responsibility to be someone that is a leader in the community. It just comes with the territory, whether you like it or not. I was a guy, it took me 4 years to understand that. And we have this saying called football is family. And what they mean by that is, you know, you really care about that guy. Now, there's some people that will look at you and say, I only care about you as the player because I just want to win a Super Bowl. I just want to win. But behind the scenes, there's guys like Rod Smith. Rod Smith was a guy in my life that literally pulled me to the side every single day and said, how can I help you grow off the field? How can I help you grow as a man? So, yes, you know, on the field, it looks a little awkward. Like, is Tom Brady, does he just care about this guy as the player? Is he just trying to use him to win a Super Bowl? But behind the camera, behind the scenes, he's doing things that help him grow as a person. And you have to be able to respect that, right? Like, yes, there's some troubling allegations. But at the same time, you know, if you take the proper steps, you can help somebody mature. I came in the NFL as a boy, and I left a man. I saw thousands of boys enter into the NFL and leave a man. If you make it past a year or 2 years in the National Football League, you will leave that game as a man. So for me, those are the opportunity. Like, it's not just about ball. It's like, how do you pour into the next generation? And I think this is what Tom Brady is doing, is saying, look, you living with me will show you what a family is supposed to look like. How are you supposed to raise your kids? How are you supposed to communicate with your wife? So it's so much more than that. I learned in the locker room to tie, like, I learned how to tie a tie in the locker room. I learned how to shave my face in the locker room. I was 22 years of age, and I'm going to give it to you in a sec, Nick. I was 22 years of age when I learned these things in the Denver Broncos locker room. I also had tough conversations with coaches and players that said, Brandon, it's not all about football. When you see the Hall of Fame speeches, what do the guys talk about? Do they talk about their money? Do they talk about the fame? They say, I miss the relationships, because the relationships are deeper than just football, Nick.
And I buy all of that. the part of this I just want to remind the audience of. Antonio Brown is not 22 years old, as you were discussing. He's 32 years old. And by any definition, that's a grown man. And so I'm not saying that at 32 you're done growing, you're done evolving, but he is not some young, lost player that's trying to find his way. Been in the league a decade, been old enough to vote for almost 15 years. Like, the idea that he is at the place Brandon was in when Brandon was kind of, you know, really addressing some of his real, I don't want to say issues, but some of the things that you were going through in your life before you got on the track you're on now. Mental health, absolutely. But that's
what we got to be transparent. Yeah, 100%.
Sure, for sure, absolutely. And you're never too old to address mental health. I get all of that. But decision making and things like that, he's 32 years old, Jenna. And so it's just, this isn't a young guy that Brady's taking under his wing, and I find it, Jenna, curious.
Yeah.
And you have to hope Antonio Brown doesn't take this gesture for granted because, frankly, I don't think